The Lead. Sponsored by Hospital Discount Pharmacy, Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.
Welcome everyone, this is Greg Tinker with The Lead, and I am honored today to have with me Coach Ryan Hall of the Oakman Wildcats. Welcome, Coach Hall.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. It's great to be here with you, Coach. One of my favorites right here is a mentor of mine and somebody that I've always admired, so it's neat to come and spend this time with you, Coach. You didn't coach me, but you were very influential in my coaching career, and so I'm always appreciative of that.
Well, I am as well. It was we had some good days here in the city school system, and I followed your career with the Oakman Wildcats and others, and we're going to talk about that. So we'll get right into your background. You didn't grow up in Walker County, but not too far away, just to the north. So give us a little bit of a brief history of Ryan Hall and athletics.
Yes, sir. I grew up in Madison, Alabama, right outside of Huntsville. A lot different when I grew up there. I graduated in '94 with about 125 kids. I went back there as a head baseball coach in 2006, and there was about 800 kids that graduated, so it was a big change, and of course that area has grown a lot. Just really sports were a part of my upbringing. I've always loved high school athletics. Just always looked up to the guys that played at Bob Jones as I was growing up, and you know, I still have a group text with the guys that I played with in high school, and we talk once a week, and so that was always a big part of my life. I graduated, like I said, from Bob Jones in 1994. And went to play baseball at Jeff State in Birmingham and was there 2 years. I went back home to the University of Alabama in Huntsville. And that's a neat story in itself. I don't know why I went there. I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. They didn't even have an education program when I signed there. It was kind of, you know, one of those deals where I really liked the coach. Coach Bobby Pierce was the coach there, very influential in my life. But the neat thing about it is I met my wife there. She was playing softball at UAH, and so God has always had plans, even when I wasn't sure why. But that was an incredible experience for me to go there and play and play for Coach Pierce. But even bigger than that, I met Brandy there, who's the softball coach here at Jasper. She's originally from Walker County here. So after that, I wanted to coach. I knew I wanted to coach, and my dream then was to be a college baseball coach. And so I actually went back 1 year and helped at my high school. One of my childhood best friends was the head baseball coach at Sparkman. He's now the offensive coordinator at North Carolina. Chip Lindsey is his name. So he's gone on he's grown a ton, and I'm still bouncing around high school. But anyway, I went there for a year, and then I went back in G8 at UAH with Coach Pierce. Stayed in college baseball for about 6 years. I was at Northwest Shoals, assistant to Walker County guy David Langston. I think he's from Curry, right?
He is,
so
that's right.
Worked with him, and then I went back to UAH as an assistant coach. Left college and took the job at Bob Jones. I was there 3 years, and when my wife became pregnant with Hampton, it was kind of one of those God moments again where I don't know why. I was in my dream job as a high school coach, and she said, I'm pregnant. She's always wanted to move to Jasper. I said, let's do it. That was in football season of that year. Well, at the end of baseball season, I resigned and came here. And there's a lot we can talk about that later. But coming here was really one of the best things for me personally and professionally that we ever did. And again, I think God's hand was all over that. But anyway, I came here. I've been at Walker for, I think, Walker Jasper, 7-8 years. I was at Carbon Hill as the head baseball coach 1 year, Cordova as the head baseball coach 1 year. Now I've been at Oakman. This is my 5th season. So that's kind of my history, my past, and have a son, Hampton, who's going to be an 8th grader there at Oakman with us, and he plays baseball, basketball, football, and so it's my wife, Brandy, is the softball coach there at Jasper. Definitely sports are a big part of our life, and really grateful for them, and you know, when you coach, you've done it for many years, if your family's not all in with you, that can make it tough. And I'm very blessed that my child is an athlete and my wife supports what we do, and I support what she does. So it really works. So.
Yeah, she and her sister Mandy are outstanding athletes and part of championship softball in Jasper. And I don't know if you have a championship anywhere along the way, so she probably reminds you that she's really the state champion of the family, right?
No doubt, no doubt. Like I say that I don't mind saying I'm the second best coach in my house. So and I'm okay with that. She's definitely outstanding coach, and you know, a lot of what I do, I learned from her, how she manages people and treats kids, and a lot of that is you know, I attribute to her and how she does it. So.
Well, it's amazing how God orchestrates our lives, and you're talking about being at UAH and wanting to be a teacher, but you look at that in hindsight, and that's just where Brandy happens to be, coincidentally, and then through all of that, Coach Pierce and Jeff Stade and all your coaching stops, meeting Pat Ware, and then as you came back to Jasper, of course, Walker High School then, Pat happened to be the head baseball coach, and he knew you, or you guys had known each other, gotten to know each other, and you're able to move here as your first job at Walker High School as a baseball coach.
Yeah, and Pat and I played together at UAH. He was a year younger than me. But we, of course, being teammates, we had a relationship. And then once we got into coaching, we always played. So when he was at Walker and I was at Bob Jones, we would play. And he actually, when I took the job at Shoals, he had not yet taken the job at Walker. He came and was going to help us a year and ended up, he ended up getting a job here. But like you say, it's just kind of, you go back and look at God's providence over things and how it was all intertwined. But, one of the neat things about it was as a young coach, I really, I call it a transactional coach. Like the kids were just pawns in my plan to be successful and win. And I really was not, I'm not proud of who I was as a coach from, 2002 to 2010. And I still got a lot of work to do. But the transition to moving here allowed me something that a lot of coaches don't get. And I got an opportunity to completely start over and look back. And being Pat's assistant for a year allowed me to take a step back and look at all the things that I didn't do well and kind of recreate. And a lot of that, again, God's hand in that, but, my son was born during that time. And when you have a child, you take on a different perspective in coaching. And, one of the things that stuck with me was I thought about, how would I want my son to be coached?
Sure.
And am I coaching that way? And in those years prior to moving here, that was not... and then there's a lot of influential people when I came here that really helped me along the way. And you were one of those, Coach Tinker. John Holliday was the head football coach at Walker at the time. And he really, really took me under his wing. And I was just a baseball guy then. I'd never really coached a lot of football. But, man, I saw through him and some of the coaches at Walker at the time the impact you could have in a football locker room. And it just was special. And, and so I never set out in those moments to say I want to be a head football coach one day, but I saw how you could. I want what I do as a coach to transcend sports. I want it to go way beyond that, and I saw people doing that in the football locker room. And one of the neat things about football, I think, that's different than other sports is, one of the coolest things in life is having a hand in somebody else's success, like really playing a part in that, not for selfish reasons, but just to help someone achieve what, and in football you get to do that every play. That's part of the fabric of the game. It's not always that way in baseball. It's not always in basketball. And I love baseball. I'm a baseball guy, but I was just drawn to that opportunity. And so, I dabbled in baseball still, and I still love baseball. I mean, I love it. It's I'll never not love it. But football just was a challenge and an opportunity to impact and to be able to do it with the guys that my brother-in-law Ben is our defensive coordinator, fantastic mentor and accountability partner right there with me. To be able to do it in that kind of environment, Jeff Ward, some of our coaches down there at Oakman that have been with me, just presented a tremendous opportunity. So coming here has been great for me personally, just in terms of growth as a Christian and my personal life and still trying to win that battle. But as a coach especially, just really, I talked about transactional coaching, but to be a transformational coach and someone that it's not about what they can do for me, but what can I do for them. And that change has been something that I've worked on. You don't ever get it, but you're just constantly trying to work on it. So I credit a lot of people here in this community in Jasper, all the community of Walker County for helping me grow, and a lot of kids, a lot of parents, and a lot of people I'm very grateful for that.
Well, that's a really nice segue into where you are now, 5 years at Oakman. And so talk a little bit about that community, how special it is, and your role there now, that you've been there long enough to get a lay of the land. And so you kind of you had a perspective going in, and now your perspective having been there a while, and what you see maybe happening there in a big picture kind of way.
Yeah, every job you take, you have this idea of what it's going to be like, and then it's not like that. I mean, it's never probably as good as you. There's no utopia. I always say that.
Sure.
Everywhere has its own issues, but I thought Oakman was a community where you could go in and really, it could be bigger than football, because it's the size of it. When you have 80 kids in your locker room, it's hard to really develop a personal. You don't know their story always.
Right.
And one of the big things that I think that is important in high school is to not just know each name, but know their need and know kind of where they're at in life. And I thought Oakman would provide that with just the numbers. When you get in there, you see that there's this and you got to. But all in all, the community's great. You got great support there. Like they love Oakman. They love that school. The school is still the center of the community. I say this. David Kelly has been very. Of course, everybody knows David, and he's been great for me down there. But I tell him this sometimes. But the biggest event in Oakman's a Friday night. I mean, like there's never that many people in one spot.
Right.
And so, that's still unique in that community. And there's a lot of people there that are supportive and they want to win and they expect to win. And so that's a neat thing. And the kids there are tough. There's still some throwback, hard-nosed, tough kids. And so, that's been a great thing. And the kids in the school there, we have great kids. We have great faculty. The faculty's close. It's still small enough where you get that, that community feel. So I love that about Oakman. And as far as down the road in the future, we have Oakman. We're going to have some ups and that's just part of being in a small school. But we're sustaining our program. Our facilities are growing. We just got a practice field. Just finished it. We should practice on it this week at some point for the first time. Just did a big renovation in our field house. There's a lot of things going on there, not just in football, but athletically. So, we're going to keep pushing and keep trying to grow, but still try to keep that's one of the deals with the field house renovation. We went back and honored every All-State player all the way back to the 30s and put a guy came in and really professionally did us a little walk of champions there. But we want to honor that past and honor those people that have been impactful in that community while we move into the future. So it's still one of those places you can do that.
Well, it's a slice of Americana, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And for anybody who hasn't been to a small town high school football game on a Friday night in a while, no matter what else you're doing, if your team's on the road and you don't follow your team on the road, if you're at a bigger school and you don't really have that anymore in your community where people all come together on Friday night, and the kids, as you say, are kind of throwback kids, and then you've got that history to draw on, I would really encourage you to travel to Oakman or another small town where the community does all come together, and as they say, roll up the sidewalks everywhere else, and you can't find anybody else in town because everybody's at the football stadium. It really is one of those things, because when all of this stuff is swirling in the world that causes us maybe some deep concerns, rightly so, you do that on a Friday night and you walk away saying there are some things still right with the world, right?
Ain't no doubt. There's no doubt. And I'm hanging on to that, right? Like I'm every day I'm like trying to remind myself, just appreciate that.
Yeah.
Don't get so caught up in preparing for Curry in this gym, but appreciate that people care. And I say this a lot, like football's not the great, it's not the end all. And at high school football, there's going to be better things in your life. But man, this is a cool experience, and don't let it pass you by and don't appreciate, I cut the grass I don't cut it, I roll the field every Friday. It's kind of my time to get away. And when we're playing at home, I do it in the morning about 10 o'clock, and there's 70 or 80 chairs, because at Oakman they bring lawn chairs and sit in the stadium. Don't sit on those concrete. They bring chairs and sit them in the stadium, or blankets, and they sit. And there'll be 60, 70, 80. And throughout the day, every time you look out the field house, there's somebody up there putting. And it's still that way in Oakman. And that's, it is. You're right. It's unique, and that's leaving a lot of places for, and big high school football is awesome too. It has there's things that are really awesome about it. But I still think, some of these smaller communities around here, that's I'm trying to hold on to that.
Sure.
Man. I love it, and so it's still that way in Oakman, and hopefully we can keep it that way for the near foreseeable future.
Well, you're a central part of that now, And of course, everybody always wants to know when the season's coming up, okay, Coach, what's it going to be like this year? So we'll ask the obvious, Coach. 2023 is upon us, and be playing football here in another 3 or 4 weeks, and it's just kind of amazing how that rolls around. It almost seems like you have that last talk in the locker room, you put the pads up, and the next thing you know, here's the next season. So here we are, getting ready to go. What are your thoughts about the 2023 year?
Yeah, I'm excited about our team. And it's going to look the same. I mean, we lost 5 seniors. We lost 1 starter. I mean, he was kind of our blocking back. Now, he was a really good player, Aiden Martin, and did a lot of things for us. But we've got all of them back, and they're primarily 10th and 11th graders. Now, this senior class is a group of they've been with us the whole time and really love them. There's 8 of them. They're not a big group, but again, we lost 1 guy, so everybody's back on defense. I'm really excited about our defense. And one of the neat things we've been able to do that sometimes we couldn't last year is we've been able to build some depth and be able to play some guys maybe primarily on defense to where they're not playing 120. Because I learned this lesson the hard way last year. When you get to about 85, 90 snaps, the level of play goes way down. You lose it. And we were in several games late. Cordova 7-3 into the 4th quarter. Fayette 21-14 or 21-7. We're going in to score, fumble it through the end zone. Late in the 3rd quarter, ends up we can't. Gordo 28-14 in the 3rd quarter, and you just falter. Meek, same kind of deal. I hope by building a little bit of depth and being able to play some guys, try to limit their snap count to 75 snaps, 65, 75 snaps. That'll help us down the road. But I'm really excited about the group. They're a fun group to coach. And again, they've been with us a long time. Ben and I have been involved with the Senior Toy Bowl for the last, 3 or 4 years too. So this group of kids, we've coached them for a long time. So we're excited. Schedule's tough. I mean, the region we're in is, the top end of it is, in 3A football, I'm not saying it's the best, but I don't know that there's one a whole lot better when you run through Gordo, Fayette, Winfield, and we play those guys back to back to back. And the big difference in those and us right now is just Gordo's got 65, we got 40. And that, can you withstand that? But our job is to figure out how to get it done anyway. And so we're excited about that. Then the other teams in our region are Carbon Hill, new coach DJ Emerson's gonna do a fantastic job there. I think that program will see a huge upgrade. With him there. Tarrant and Midfield both are very athletic teams. The coach at Midfield does a fantastic job. They were 9-2 a couple of years ago. Rod Isaacs, his name, he's been in a long time. And then we have some local, we've got Cordova, who's always, for our people, that's a big rivalry.
Sure.
Beating them's a big deal in Oakman, Alabama. And Meek is, you understand that program's really come on. And then we play a weird opponent, Winterboro, who will come up from Talladega County, and they're very athletic. And we'll open up with Sulligent, who's a really, really good 2A team. So excited about the year, and I really like our team. I like the makeup and our coaches. It's an exciting time for us.
So first game, Jamboree against Curry, right? And so what night will that be?
That'll be August 18th at Curry, and we're going to play for sure a half of real football. Try to get 40 snaps for our guys, and then we'll kind of play it by ear in the second half. And those jamborees kind of get weird sometimes, but do want to, for conditioning purposes, we want to get enough snaps where we're starting to work toward playing a full football game.
And then to add to your duties, I know it's all football right now, but they've had the wisdom to invite you to be the baseball coach, and so you're going to take on that role this year as the head baseball coach, which you said that's what you've grown up doing. You did a lot of that. You're a baseball guy, so it's going to be a natural fit for you just to walk into that role. And so talk some about your expectations there.
Yeah, I'm actually excited about it. I know it's going to be crazy, and one of the things that allows us to do that is our assistant coaches in the football program. Jay Trotter, Jeff Ward, Jack Spradlin, Ben Painter, Chad Duke, those guys can, honestly, I can walk out the door and they can run the pro. I mean, we do it together, and we've been together a while, and so that's one of that made that decision easy. Is the program is in great hands with those guys. There's potentially 4 head coaches that could replace them right in that building, so they'll be able to manage the football side of it. And then in the spring, my son's in the program. I'm there anyway. as I sat down and kind of contemplated on it, it's almost like one of those things. As Hampton's got to playing baseball, it's brought back that, it's rekindled that.
Sure.
Man, I remember those playoff high school baseball games are awesome, and fighting through the cold and the big hit to win a game, or a kid really having a great night on the mound. And so as he's playing, I'm reliving all that stuff, and I'm going, man, I miss that, and so then when the opportunity presented itself, I thought, man, I love the kids at Oakman. They're fun to be around. While I've got the health and can do it, let's just do it and go for it. And so I'm excited, and I'll deal with that when it gets here. Now we're football right now, but again, it goes back to my family too. I'm fortunate that I have a family that supports that and allows it. And not just Brandy and Hampton, but we have a huge support group of people that when you're gone, your family's being taken care of, and that goes with my in-laws and my all the people that are around us that support us, allow us to do the things that we do. So, but I'm excited and looking forward to Oakman baseball, and I'll learn a lot from these kids because I've been out of it a little while, but I know you still got to throw strikes and make plays and get the ball in play, and you can win a few games. But there's some good coaches around here now. John Michael Knighton is going to do a fantastic job over there at Cordova. Coach Ware hoarded up all the good coaches over there. So there's good baseball around here, and good baseball people. There's a lot of good baseball people here, so I'm excited to get back in those circles.
Well, when I heard that was happening, my heart took a leap forward because I know how much you love baseball. I know your skill level at coaching baseball, and I was just thinking, man, those kids at Oakman have hit the gold mine. They have you a whole entire football season and now entire baseball season. And I think it's just, if you want to say, the cherry on top for the program at Oakman, that you will be the baseball guy there now. And I'm imagining you will persuade your brother-in-law maybe to get in there and help you some. Had the blessing of coaching Ben through middle school basketball and then all the way through high school baseball. And I know the kind of athlete and coach and more importantly, the kind of man he is. And so just that influence that will extend now beyond football, and if you want to say it this way, that your influence in his, if he chooses, will be with those kids really year-round. And nowadays, more than ever, with so many young men needing support from a positive male role model, because a lot of them, unfortunately, don't have their dad around anymore for various reasons, but then to have guys like you in their lives. And if they start in 7th grade, you're talking about a long time of influence. And I think it's just God's blessing, obviously, for you guys to have that job. I know it entails a whole lot of hard work, and you don't really kind of get a break that way. But for the kids' sake, that year-round influence over many years' time, and as you said it earlier, Coach Hall, that it's not about winning football games. It's not about winning baseball games. Obviously, you want to win those games. It's important to the kids. It's important to the community. It's important to the head coach. But really, it's what is instilled in those young men that they take with them into the community to give back. That one day they're going to be a husband. One day they're going to be a dad. And you guys being able to model that for them, that period of time, and for them to absorb that, I think is just extraordinary.
Yeah, and I'll speak on that. That's you brought up some great points, and I love to hear you talk about that. High school athletics are so. In my life, my high school coach, outside of direct family members, everything that I do. Robbie Parker is his name. He's the principal at Whitesburg Christian Academy. He was the superintendent of Madison City Schools. He was my high school coach, and he probably had, outside of direct family members, his impact on me was tremendous. I use something every day that he taught me, whether it's to show up here 15 minutes early for this interview or to appreciate what you've done for me as a mentor. Like, all those things came from coaches showing me that along the way. And man, I want to win. Like, we're there to win. It's a competitive sport. Like, this is not, but there's such a valuable lesson in working hard and getting a reward for it. Like, that's what winning's about. It's not like we're going to cut corners and compromise. It's not win at all costs. It's win because in life, I still believe hard work gets rewards.
Sure.
And that's the lesson. But on the flip side of that, there are times you work and do everything right and you don't win. And you got to be able to manage that. I say this about my son. I'm a different parent now. I think it's great for my son to sit over there on the bench and watch some other kid play, even when he does everything right. He's going to be mad at me for saying that. But what a great lesson for him if I frame it that way. And so the men hearing you talk about those things, like I get fired up about that because that's what it's about. We want to win, and we're going to do everything in our power to win. We're going to work hard, but we're not going to compromise the opportunity to teach young people lessons that will carry with them in life. We're not going to do that. Now, I always say you got to get results and relationships. Like if you're too relationship heavy and you get beat all the time, you ain't going to be in there long to build the relationships.
Right.
But you can't get so result dominated that you forget about the relationships. And it's always about the conversations before the conversations. Like me and you can come in here and do this interview comfortably because we've had hundreds of conversations away from here just about life, just about different things. And that's the same thing in a coach-player relationship. There's going to be a moment where urgency is going to require me to get after you a little bit, and I'm going to be loud, and I might even my son grab his face, man. That may happen.
Sure.
But if those conversations leading up to that and those relationships are built up to that are where they're supposed to be, then that'll go through just like it's supposed to, and the lesson will be learned and we'll move on. And to touch on what you said, we have fantastic, Ben is a tremendous man to put in front of kids. And that's number one, is the example that we put in front of these kids is important. I always remind myself that one day I'll stand before God, I believe, and I'll answer for the men that I put in front of these kids that was entrusted to me to coach. And so I always want men that are going to be great examples for me. We are blessed immensely at Oakman with Ben is fantastic, Jeff Ward is fantastic, Chad Duke is fantastic, Jace Trotter is a wonderful human being that is a kid magnet. Jack Spradlin. I can go through over and over and list name after name of the men that are walking the halls of our building, and that's what it's about. So that's our passion, and it's I'm sitting up here talking about it, but those guys they're a huge part of that too. But man, that got me going when you start talking about that, Coach. I'm a competitor and I love to win, but I also want to take the opportunity that we have with these young people and really complement what parents are doing or what's going on. We want to be in a partnership with them in raising a young man that can go out in the world and really be a positive effect in society. So coolest thing in the world for me is like watching John Michael Knight and sit up here and you interview him and hear him talk, man. Like, I'm so impressed with him. What a great young man. And he's just one of many to, having coached him, and I was just a little smidgen. I only was with him just a little bit, but man, when you're a coach and you know, to sit up here and watch kids that you've coached and watch them grow like that, that's like, man, that's like opening Christmas presents on Christmas morning,
Absolutely.
And it's really cool. And so that's kind of, that's what it's about to us.
Well, I said to the kids when I was teaching and coaching that, as a teacher, I never complained about my salary. I knew what that was going in, coaching supplement. Might have complained about that a little bit now and again. But what I would always say to the kids is, I knew going in, I'm not going to make a lot of money at this. And that was never my goal. But I said, my pay is your success. So as I watch you graduate and going into life and what you do, and you mentioned John Michael, and there's so many others, and you as a friend, I didn't have an opportunity to coach you, but to our relationship as friends and colleagues and brothers in Christ and in the coaching profession, watching your progression and God, and I think I told you this from the beginning when you got to Oakman. I said, I'm so glad, because I know the influence that you can have in that town, because the head coach in a small town, as he stays there and establishes himself, really de facto becomes the voice of that community. You give it's hard to think about it in that way, but you give a lot of direction to the community directly and indirectly. And so I would say to them that my pay is watching you go on and have success in life. And so when I see young people, male, female, whatever, flourishing in life, it brings a satisfaction to me. And like you said, may have just been a very small part, but still, that is such a wonderful thing. And now you having been in Oakman, and you'll be there hopefully a long while longer, you're going to have this generational influence that like people talk about Hosey Collins still, you know,
Yeah.
it's going to, and I'm not trying to pump you up or anything else, but this is just the reality of where you are. You know that from me mentioning Coach Collins' name, is that, you know, your name is already there and will continue to do that as you have that influence across the years. And so you're so right to say, as you watch these guys you've invested in and they've given part of their life to you, then as they graduate and again take a job, get married, have kids, you have the joy of watching that progression that you're a part of, you know?
It's awesome. And you don't get into, I didn't get into coaching with that mindset. Like, that was not my mentality when I first did it. I was a competitor and I wanted to win and I wanted to get the best job. And Bob Jones High School was the biggest job in this. I mean, it was the biggest school in the state at the time I got the job. I was 28 years old. And man, I thought I had arrived. But I realized when I moved here, with the help of a lot of great people, you know, I spent all those years climbing this ladder to get to what I thought was the top. And I got up there and realized that the ladder was leaning on the wrong building. And that's tough. Mm-hmm. That's tough to swallow. And so through the years of being here or in these communities in Walker County, the relationships and the people and seeing kids that play for you and then they go and they come back, they call you. Like I had our quarterback my first year at Oakman just came by my house the other day. He just pulls up my yard sometimes. I come home sometimes, he's sitting on my front porch and I'm thinking, what is it? But I love that. Mm-hmm. Like I love it. And he's telling me he's having a baby, that he's about to have a son. Mm-hmm. You know, there is no win like that will ever like give you the feeling that you have in that moment that kid still thinks enough of me to come back and tell me that.
Absolutely.
You know, and so those moments are your wins. Saturday, we got beat by Vinemont a couple of years ago in overtime. We had a real good team. We got beat by Vinemont, and it forced us in a three-way tie, and we had to go play Fife in the first round, which had won 1,000,000 games in a row. And it was bad, and you talk about a sick Saturday morning. I mean, like, it was low, but then you get a moment like that. Mm-hmm. And man, you know, I'd go back and lose those games, and for moments like that, or for one of our players just to text me, you know, Coach, I was doing this, and I'm just going to let you know I got a new job. I mean, you know, those are the moments, man, and you don't get into coaching understanding that, but as you get older, and I'm 47, but I'm starting to see that and appreciate that more. And again, Walker County is a great place for that. It's not like this everywhere.
Right.
Exactly. You're in a bigger city. Those kids go off and they never come back. You never hear from them. They don't come to your house and hang out with you.
Right. That's exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They don't come back. They're in New York City as a law, or they're, you know, if you see them, it's probably in trouble. Not
right.
good.
Right.
And I'm not saying everywhere, but I'm saying here it's unique because you do have those relationships. You go in Las Reyes, there's 2 or 3 people in there that maybe you coach. And that's fun, man. That makes it enjoyable, and great people here, great communities. We're very grateful and blessed. And when I say we, I'm talking about my family and our coaches and, you know, all the people involved in it. Just really, really grateful.
Well, Coach, we're so thankful that you have joined us today, and what a wonderful experience you're having in Oakman and the things that are happening there. We're excited for you and for this football season, baseball season, and continued success. But one thing we got to do to finish up is for you to sign the lead poster. So if you'll do that, please, sir.
I sure will. Man, there's some big names on here now. I can't sign near Heath Burns. He's a...
Yeah, I'll stay away from that.
Yeah, he's one of my closest friends. A lot of great people around here.
Absolutely. Well, folks, I know you've enjoyed our time with Coach Ryan Hall, and I mean it. If you have an opportunity, get down to Oakman on a Friday night and enjoy that slice of Americana. It'll give you some hope in our country. If you've run into some of that, some of the thoughts of, man, I don't know what's going on in this world now, it'll help put everything right and make sure that if you do that, that you let Coach Hall know how much you enjoyed that afterwards. Don't bother him during the game, okay? But maybe the following Monday, let him know how much you enjoyed that. So this is Greg Tinker with Coach Ryan Hall saying good afternoon for the lead.
The Lead, sponsored by Hospital Discount Pharmacy, Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.